Gisane.
1,130,556 learners sat the KJSA in November 2025, and the placement of these learners, the results were released on the 11th of December 2025. On 14th of December 2025, we started the placement system. By 19th of December, placement was completed and results were released. But we allowed learners to review the places, the schools that they have been placed in, so that we could review that. So requests were received between 23rd and 29th of December 2025 for the first revision, when we received over 350,000 students requesting changes in various schools, and that was done. And then on this, we did not complete, we approved about 220,000, and we decided to offer another window from the 6th to the 9th of January, again, for that revision to be done. Because this being the very first time we were undertaking this, we said, let us give the students enough time to choose the schools that they would like to go to. Senior school dates were also adjusted because we are opening on the 12th, and we intended to have it, the deadline on the 16th of January 2026. But by the time we were doing on the 16th of January 2026, a good number had not reported to the schools that they had been placed. So we extended that date to 21st of January 2026. The next slide. Now, of the students that have been placed to date, and I'm coming to the figures, 52% of that number has been placed in the STEM pathway, 38% have been placed in the social sciences pathway, and the arts and sports stand at 10%. The placement figures per cluster in the schools: C1 have received 10%. Remember, C1 we have only 263 schools. C2 have 23%, C3 have 31%, and C4 have 36%. Ladies and gentlemen, as at the 22nd of January, that is, remember we're closing a placement or reporting on 21st. By the time we closed on that date, on the 21st, the following day on Thursday, we had 92% of all the learners reporting in schools. And because we have 100% transition policy in government, there were 8% that had not reported for one reason or another, including issues relating to school fees and uniforms. So what the president then did on that Thursday, pronounced himself and said that all learners need to be admitted without conditions as to whether they have school fees or uniforms. And that directive was followed by us as a ministry releasing guidelines on how that was to be done. And as at yesterday at noon, we had done 96% of the placements, with the intention to move to 100% by the end of this week. That slide there indicates the students that have reported to our schools across the country from the regions. You can see Central is at 97%, Coast is at 89%, Eastern is at 94%, Nairobi is at 95%, Northeastern is at 99%, Eastern is at 94%, Nyanza is at 96%, Rift Valley is at 97%, and Western is at 97%. We are at 95.6%, that's why I said by yesterday at noon, we are at 96%. We would be able to know that number. We normally take the data at noon every day. So we've done quite well. This being the first time that this transition is taking place, we have actually been able to move to 96%. We think that we might be able to move to 98%, maybe 99%. We might not be able to achieve 100% because there are students, for example, who do, or learners who have done these exams in prisons, and those ones, they don't transition to our schools, they continue studying in prison. Now, the textbook distribution as of yesterday was at 57.5%, call it 58%. Now, what happened with this challenge of textbooks is that the publishers were owed about 11 billion shillings by government. Now, this 11 billion shillings was a pending bill arising out of previous distribution of previous books that had been procured. So what happened is the printers refused to print the grade 10 books because they had not been paid. So this delay that affected grade 10 books did not arise out of issues relating to grade 10. It arose out of debts that had been incurred by previous distribution of those books. So what we did, we were able to get 5.6 billion out of the 11 billion, which we paid them during the second week of January, and therefore the printing started and distribution started. So we plan to complete the distribution of these books at 100%, having one textbook per learner per each learning area by the first week of February. That's next week. We'll give further details at the end of this week how far we are. So that is with respect to issues relating to the transition of grade 9 to grade 10. On financing, Article 53 of the Constitution provides that we should be providing free and compulsory education. Free and compulsory. We actually sometimes forget the compulsory part. And this is where we are saying and telling the parents that you must work with government to ensure that your child goes to school, and government must ensure that we have free education. We're coming to discuss a little bit more. Under the government capitation, the approved rates is the free primary education is at 1,420, junior secondary is at 15,042, and secondary is at 22,244. Those figures have not changed, despite the various statements that you see where people are saying that we've reduced capitation. Capitation has not reduced, it remains at that policy level. The problem lies elsewhere, not at the issue of the policy of the amounts that are provided. So that has remained continuous from previous years. Now, in the financial year 2025-2026, the education budget is at 702.7 billion, which is at almost 28%. The 26-27 is almost at 727 billion. That is a proposed, which will take it to about 30%. This is already above the international standard that requires that we should be at 20%. So we are already 8% above that with the 702, and still we are having deficits, as I'm going to demonstrate just now. Now, for the financial year 2025-2026, and I'd like members to take note of this slide, we have 3 columns. The first column indicates what we require to meet the provisions of Article 53 in order to be able to give free and compulsory education. For primary, we need 9.7 billion. For junior school, we need 49 billion. And for senior school, we need 76 billion, making a total of 136 billion. What you allocated and what Treasury allocated for primary is 7 billion instead of 9. For junior is 28 billion instead of 49. And for senior school is 51 billion instead of 76, making a total of 87 billion. This is what is budgeted for. This then gives us a deficit for primary 2.7 billion, for junior school 20 billion, and for senior school 24 billion, making a total deficit of 48 billion. So what has been allocated is 18 87 billion.
Ramga jonka moro mintiere mano en jatend migao mochung' weche mag somo migos Ogamba ma bende twagi jod bura e romo marge gwenge mag Naivasha e county mano Nakuru kotende kod Chal mano mar somo mano ka sang'wen oseromo nyaka Ramga jwang' adar mar mon mako yo matin kana duogo pod antiere ka gilere onyango gi Chris Owala ma bende obro bedo kwanono godo moko kuom weche ma bende otwake kotende kod Chal mar somo figures kwana ma bende ochiwonwa kanyo nyaka Ramga jwang' wabro bedo kwalose achiel kachiel wako yo matin ote magi bende aneno kik dhi mabor.
My dog, G-Dog, I got you, man. I know you're trying to hit me up, right? But the thing is, right, I'm kind of busy at the moment. You know what I mean? Just hold your horses for a minute. Once I'm done with what I'm doing, I'm definitely going to hit you up. You know what I mean? So what you do, take a chill pill, get some fresh air, relieve your